We need new forestays. The old ones are starting to fall apart, so we're gonna take them down and replace them with something super luxurious.
My name is Gijs and this is my dad. And this is Schoener Tijgerhaai. We have recently started a major rebuild to get her ready for new adventures. And we're sharing the process with you. Subscribe to stay tuned.
This part of the project has been in the works almost since the beginning of the rebuild. We knew from the start that we had to replace the forestays, and Dad already had some foresight into this during the time he was working at a luxury yacht builder 30 years ago, when he was able to buy a set of second-hand hydraulic furling forestays. We have to talk about furling foresails in general first, because they consist of many parts, all of which will come up in this video. As the name suggests, a furling foresail or furling jib does not have to be hoisted, and it does not come down. It simply furls away around the stay. To make this happen, the sail is usually attached to an aluminum profile that is installed around the stay, which is in some way able to turn many turns until the sail is neatly wrapped around the forestay. On smaller yachts, and what we used to have as well, the rotation is achieved by pulling a rope that is coiled on a drum at the base of the stay. By unwinding the rope of the drum, the profile turns and the sail disappears. In our case, both forestays had a big bearing on the top and on the bottom, and the whole stay and the profile would rotate. A solution that is way more common is that the stay is stationary and that only the profile rotates around the stay. On bigger yachts, when it's preferable to take the sail away with the push of a button, the furling is most of the time achieved with an hydraulic motor that replaces the rope drum at the base of the stay, but more on that later. After buying the second-hand forestays, Dad never got around to installing them, so they've been laying on that shipyard for almost 30 years. Until 2 years ago, when a former foreman learned about our rebuild. He called Dad to say that the stays were still there and that we should contact the new owner of the yard to ask if we could pick them up. So Dad made a deal with the new owner and we went down there to load them up. The problem was, however, that they were still in one piece and we had no clue how to separate the aluminum profiles from the stainless steel rod stay and the hydraulic motors. After half a day of struggling, we cut the rod stays and were able to slide the aluminum profiles off the top, leaving the motors attached to the stays. To transport them home, we rigged up a frame on the trailer, and without the profiles we were able to coil the forestays onto the frame. Back home, we took off the stays and with a little bit of heat and some brute force, we're able to take the head off the furler. That also revealed how to assemble and disassemble them without cutting the stay. Before being able to remove the old forestays, we do have to make sure that the masts don't fall over backwards. For that, we're installing an extra forestay, or a double one actually, that is attached on both sides of the bowsprit. We have some wire laying around, but we need to make new tensioners from used but still good parts that we also got laying around. The steel wire is a bit short, so the tensioners get some extra length. With those in place, we can remove the old stays. you can straight away see that these forestays are very much overdue for replacement. The center of these stays is bare steel rod, unlike the modern stainless rod stays. This lasted for a while, long enough to sail around the world for 4 years, but as you can imagine, the bare steel in salt water starts rusting. The rust expands, but it has nowhere to go, so it just cracks open the aluminum profile. As a temporary fix, Dad repaired it at some point, which made the profiles usable again, but the problem is that we cannot see the state of the steel stay, and that is dangerous. It might snap without a warning. Better replace it with something that lasts. As said before, these stays come off of a different boat, so they don't automatically fit on ours. The sailing yacht that they came from had a longer mast, so the jib stay is a bit too long. That's no problem, we can make it shorter to fit. The inner forestay, however, was attached way lower on the mast, so it's too short for us to use. To further complicate things, Dad got a second-hand set of sails from another sailing yacht with an even longer mast, although their inner stay was about as long as ours. We took the sail out and measured it to see how much too short our new inner forestay is. It's quite a lot too short, and that's a problem for a number of reasons. The center of this forestay is a solid rod of very strong duplex stainless steel, so we're gonna need a new one that's longer. We also need a longer aluminum profile. However, the profiles used 30 years ago are no longer in production, so we cannot just buy a single extension piece. Unfortunately, all the parts of the furlers are made exactly to fit these profiles. What we can do is order a full length of new profile and remake the other parts of the furler to fit. This being yacht stuff, that does not come cheap. Alternatively, we still have the old forestays with the old profiles that have a pretty similar shape. But it will be a massive task to take them off the old stays and remake them to be able to use them again. We decided to try the last option first. Worst case, we lose some time and still have to buy expensive new profiles. The inside of the profiles looks as you'd expect. A combination of rust and aluminum oxide eaten into the material. Nothing we can't brush out. Since these profiles were tightly wrapped around and rotating with the stays, the material did not have to be very thick. The new stays, however, will be stationary and only the aluminum profiles will rotate, so they have to be much stronger. We also have to find a way to connect all the pieces together. Our solution: a thick-walled aluminum pipe with a flat side to use as inner pipe around the stay. To get that flat side on the pipe, we have used our jointer planer that is hardly ever used anyways. After welding some test pieces, we decided to give the full 18 meter a go, but not before sending the freshly jointed pipes off to be hard anodized. Hard anodizing gives the aluminum a good protection against oxidation in salt water, and it makes it scratch and wear resistant, which is also important since it will be rotating around the stay. And since we cannot coat the inside of the pipe, this is the only solution to make them long lasting. You can also not weld anodized aluminum, as the protective layer is not electrically conductive. The outer profile will just be welded around the inner pipe, and by the shrinking of the material after cooling down, it will be very stuck around it, is the theory. Shrink does bring in another problem. As the profile has more material on the side where the sail slides in, the other side heats up a bit more, and as a result it shrinks a bit more when cooling down, introducing a bend in our newly made profile. To counter this, we're putting some pre-tension in the opposite direction during the welding process. So far so good. All we need now is a new piece of stay, which we cannot make ourselves. So we ordered one from 8+ Rigging, which is the only company in the Netherlands that supplies these kinds of stays. They are made from nitronic 50, which is similar to duplex, and it's twice as strong as normal stainless steel. On both ends, a thicker end piece is pressed, called a cold heading. They had to come and do that on location, because with the cold heading on, the stay does not fit through the profile. The guys were kind enough to also press a cold heading on our outer jib stay that we shortened a bit, which is of course way stronger than anything we would have MacGyvered on. After all that preparation, it's time to see if the new stays fit, and pray they don't buckle during installation. To help, they have to be supported on multiple points. That went flawlessly, and with the stays attached at the top of the mast, we can connect hydraulic motors on the bottom. Because of the hydraulic motors, there is no space for the tensioner on the bottom, so the stays are tensioned from the top. Alright, now that we have the stays in place, only half the job is done. These hydraulic motors are powered by hydraulic oil. Basically, oil under pressure flows through the motor, and with this flow the motor turns. To get this oil flowing, somewhere else in the ship there needs to be a pump and a tank and a couple of valves to choose which furler is turning and if it's furling clockwise or counterclockwise. These three things together are combined in a power pack. To minimize the hydraulic pressure losses in the pipes, we want the power pack as close to the furlers as possible. So the forepeak is the most logical solution. There's enough space there to create a foundation to place the tank on. With the tank in place, we can install the cover, which is also the base of the pump and the valve block. And with that in place, we can install the electric motor on top, and the electric power supply and the control wires can be connected.
Is dit handig? Nee. Weet niet wat het gaat. Zo zie je hoe die zat. Oké, dan ga ik nu de auto opzoeken.
The sheet winch for the foresails is located just in front of the wheelhouse. It does need some attention, and since we're taking off the manual furlers, those rope drums can be removed. Because we're also using the winch as a step for the front door of the wheelhouse, we need some guardrails to prevent falling off. It makes the most sense to be able to control the furlers from the same place that we're controlling the jib sheets. After all, you have to ease out the sheet when furling the sail and haul it in when unfurling. The furlers are controlled simply by two buttons each, one for furling and one for unfurling. Now all the hydraulic pipes have to be installed. To bring the pipes from inside the forepeak to outside on deck, we need some deck penetrations. Inside, we're using normal steel pipes and couplings which have to be painted to prevent rust. The outside pipes, made from stainless steel, run over the bowsprit, and out there they are quite vulnerable. If you step on them, they will be bent or in the worst case break. To prevent that, we are replacing the handrail with a big stainless steel pipe made from used but still good shorter pieces to run the thinner hydraulic pipes through. The furlers have been laying around for 30 years, and a big chunk of that was outside, which is a bit of a risk as we don't even know if they still work. We could have completely taken them apart and check, clean and oil the insides. We chose not to because they have hardly any running hours, so there surely isn't any wear. We can always still take them apart if they don't work. Before we connect them, I do want to flush them with some old clean hydraulic oil to make sure there's no condensation or anything else inside. After doing this once with the inner stay, I decided that there was an easier way, and that is to just pump the motors through with the power pack for an hour or so and then change the oil. That way all the pipes and motors are flushed, any water or dirt is collected in the tank and it can be cleaned out before actually commissioning them. All that remains now is installing the pipes and hoses on the bowsprit. Wherever the hydraulic pipes cannot run through the handrail, we chose to use hydraulic hose instead. Because the hoses are flexible, they are less likely to get damaged by stepping on or bumping into them. To protect the hoses from sunlight and salt water, we are sliding over an extra layer of protective hose. Now everything is in place, so let's see if they work. That went above expectation, so we might as well check if the new sail fits. Alright, we are very pleased that everything worked out the first time. After being in the works for almost 2 years, the new forestays do not disappoint. And that is all I have for you now. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.